the scientific theist. Have we seen those videos? I look at those and I laugh. I want to talk about this. Science and theism, they don't go together. And I want to talk about why that is. We have to think this through. I'm not going to preach. I'm not going to teach. What I'm going to do is say that there are trends out there that we need to look at because they're changing trends and we need to understand what is really going on. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. I get that from people a lot lately. This person that is preaching this is a scientist. They know what they're doing. And you look at that and go, you know what? They are not doing science. Let's talk about this and see what's really going on. People have got credentials for what? Okay, if you know me, you know I'm going to step back and take a big overview and get out of the minutia of little details that people get caught up in. Step back and look at a big picture, and then we'll zoom in and we'll go, oh, okay, I got a better idea what's going on. Let's look at all the parts. So, all right, first of all, what is natural? What is supernatural? Those can be, we need to identify those because those are going to be crucial in the understanding of the difference between science and theism and why theism cannot claim science. Natural and supernatural. Within this universe, everything exists to the best of our knowledge with universal laws. We've discovered the universal laws. There may be things out there that we don't know yet, that are not in proximity, we don't see the effect of, or something like that. But pretty much everything that's going on out there between humans, the energy, us living in a collective, the way humanity works can easily be explained with nature. To say that there is something supernatural would mean what? If it is natural, then it exists in the universe and it does not violate the laws of the universe. If it's supernatural, then it exists within the universe. The claim is that it exists within the universe, but that it is no longer upholding to the laws of the universe. It suddenly went someplace that is not science. So if somebody's saying I'm using science to back up supernatural, right there you've got something disingenuous. The individual may have a degree in science. They may have a geology degree or philosophy or something like that. It doesn't matter. When they're doing this, they're not using a science degree. If I've got a degree in electronics building and I'm out there mowing my lawn, I'm doing work, but I'm not using my degree. And people driving by, I wouldn't say, hey, I'm an engineer, everybody, I'm an engineer. Yeah, you're not doing engineering right now, are you? Okay, that's probably not a good example, but that's exactly what you see. Who does that work on? It works on people that don't know the difference. They want it to be so true that we don't even care. There has to be this idea at some point that you're looking at and saying, this individual is being very unscientific by saying that everything that you see in science is being driven by a supernatural source. Right there, at the very core, you're not starting with science. You're using science down the road to try and conflate the idea that you got nothing to work with. And that works on minds that don't know any better. People come at you and say, this person has a degree, they're a scientist, they're a geologist, they know the earth was made only 6,000 years ago. All you can do is scratch your head and go, God, that person is abusing that degree. And it's the blind leading the blind. Okay, there's a reality that is not supernatural. If we stop listening to people and just think through what is natural, what is supernatural, what are the claims, how does it all fit, work it through in our own mind and process it, what we realize is that the universe, yes, is made of universal laws and that we can see those, we've discovered them, can measure them, can see how, people even call the universe balanced for life, okay? That's because we know those laws. That's why that claim can be made. It's the fine-tuning argument, okay? So that's on the table. Nobody denies that one. That is science right there. What these laws basically are, though, the nuclear, the light, the heavy, the magnetic, all of that, what they do is they hold atomic structure at such a size that we can exist. If one of the forces was too weak or something, then atomic structure couldn't even exist. There couldn't be existence. That all the forces of everything have to be just right in order for things to be here, which we know that is absolutely true. The difference is a theist will say the only way that can happen is that it was created that way, when somebody else would say, well, we couldn't be here to ask the question if it wasn't that way. So we don't know where it came from. We just know that we're here. So it depends on how you want to look at it. Some people are somehow got themselves into a source, while other people are like, we're trying to actually look to see where the source is. We're not just going to claim one. Yeah, you see that? We could not exist if the laws weren't the way that they are. To say something supernatural is to say, really, that within these laws, something is happening that does not exist within those laws there. They're existing somewhere else, something we don't have access to. That's making a claim of magic. Here's something happening that you cannot see, you can never interact with. If it can interact with us, angels, demons, if they were really there, they would not be supernatural, would they? They would be natural. They would be something that we don't have the power of or something like that, but they would not be supernatural. They would be natural. There cannot be a supernatural except as a verb or a term or a whatever, however you're using it to claim that there's something that you can never see and interact with. If God's there, that's what you've done. You can never see or interact with God. You can just see the results. That's not science. If you're making supernatural claims and then calling yourself a scientist, that's only going to work at people at your mental level and below. It won't work on people that know more than that know better. Science and religion, they don't belong together. They diverged. People can make an argument that science comes from religion. And I will tell you this, that religion comes from humanity. And then as we grow and develop, we continue to gain answers. And now science emerges. Science is not coming from religion. Science is coming from finding answers, truth and reality. Science is leaving religion. It's not bringing religion with it. It's finding answers that are viable and tangible. Religion doesn't have those. The theism, the supernatural, does not have that tangibility. It only has faith claims. So when it's taking a faith claim and throwing science in there as a way to say, here is some viability, for us thinking and seeking on our own, right there, this person may not be a charlatan. They just may not even know any better. Well, I don't know. I've talked with people that you realize they have no concept of what I'm talking about. They don't get this. So you realize that they're not disingenuous, that there's just something missing in the cognitive arena of someone's ability to really see what there is without having so much emotion caught into it that you're trying to convince people of what you want as opposed to stepping back, letting go, and seeing what there is. So they're caught up in that right there. You don't even, science and religion, it's like somebody uses that title, you're like, oh yeah, this is not going to work at all. You will notice that religious people will use science terms. You will never see science people using religious terms. Why is that? Science has something to show. Religion is going after, geez, they can't do this. Okay, this fits. We'll take that one. It's a cherry picking thing. When you bring science to the table with theism, I wouldn't even bother. That's going to be people just throwing things around that don't know very much. Honestly, that science is science, religion is religion. I don't know what happens in people like that. Is there a lack of faith? Maybe it's because the emergence of knowledge is demonstrating that we can explain how life exists without claiming magic. We're learning enough to see, and people will deny it along the way, or maybe get on board a little bit and not completely. Anyway, science is science. It looks for answers. It looks for something that's repeatable. And when it makes a mistake, it learns that, it backs up, and it goes at it. People that say that, the theist will say that science is, they try to paint science as an opposition to it. That's a theistic thing that's done. Science does not go after theism, but you will see theism go after science. Why is that? Just step back and look at it. It's pretty obvious. Now, I have to kind of caveat this because I get this from people that say, you know what, you talk about those Richard Dawkins videos where he's got priests on and things like that, and they're having a debate back and forth, and that Richard Dawkins is coming after, they would make that argument. And I would say that from a searcher's perspective, I'm looking for answers. I see something different going on. If I look at Richard Dawkins and somebody, what I see is a dialogue that is intended to expose the truth, and that Richard Dawkins is giving people an avenue to open up. He's very good at that. But what they're doing is trying to expose what is there. That's what I see Richard doing. Now, if I turned around to a different channel where it's a theist and a scientist, they're not doing the same thing at all. They're not looking for the truth. What they're doing is taking the Bible, saying this is true. It's a claim that we believe from a source that we can't see, and we're going to use whatever evidence we can to try to shore that up. They're not doing the same thing. One group is trying to contort or minimize knowledge and exposure to what is there in order to shore up a faith claim that pre-existed, while the other one is openly trying to expose everything so that it's in the light of day. That's the difference. Who has something and who doesn't? And who's trying to use somebody else's material. And at the end of the day, still are founded on the idea that they have a supernatural that they cannot demonstrate. And then call themselves a doctor to impress who? You should look at that as a pretty phony thing right there. All right, that's all I wanted to say on this video. Science and supernatural, yeah, they don't go together. Whenever you see the debates, it's they're just fun debates that people have. But you don't go to science places and find them trying to figure out what to do with religion. But you can go to religious places and see them try to figure out what to do. People are coming up with answers over there. How do we fit on board? You can see that happening. Okay, that's it. I think I've done a video, something like this, similar to this before, but I continue to see it, and I continue to have, if you make a comment or you see other people's comments that are they're all about this. Hey, this person's a scientist, for crying out loud. There it is. There's evidence. And you're like, wow, you just fell right into that. It's astounding. Truthfully, what's happening there is a theist with a supernatural foundation using a science degree based in stuff that is evidence-based to claim to shore up that supernatural claim. When you go to the college to get that degree, they're not going to tell you that's what it's for. Here, now you can take this and use it any way you want. Go now and claim God. This is a person abusing a degree, whether they know that or not. But to the world, that doesn't matter. It only matters to the individual that's making the discrimination and listening to the individual and determining whether or not that accreditation they're using has anything to do with what they're talking about. And it does not. Obviously, it doesn't. Take it to the core. Where's your supernatural foundation? That's where you're coming from. We can't show that. Let's just grab all the science we can along the way and say that because these things have been proven, therefore that still proves that we got it. Yeah. Okay, so ultimately what I see is just this trend as science is seeing more and more, as the James Webb Space Telescope looks off in the distance and you look at things and go, well, 13.8 billion years may not have been the beginning. And to me, it's like, that makes actually good sense. The fact that everything is here from 13.8 billion years at one point in beginning is mystifying to me. If there are something that's been going on for eons, just so far beyond there, that 13.8 billion years is a drop in the bucket, this kind of bubble nucleation, energy crashing, colliding, creating, imagine bubbles in a sink as you're pouring hot water into it that are just growing and bubbling and popping and going down, that within this, something like that, I would look at that and go, well, that makes a whole lot more sense than just one creation, one time, one whatever created or whatever caused that to occur. We know that there was a cause. We just don't know. There's something going on beyond. We're too little. We think we know it all, but we don't. I think it makes more sense that something like that is there. So anyway, as we reach and see more, it just pushes God farther and farther back, doesn't it? And that there are people that don't like that, and they're trying to maintain viability by adjusting themselves in their own particular way to science. So what do you get? You get theism writing science in an effort to create credibility for the theism, because the science has credibility. The theism does not. That's what I see. Period. Yeah. That's a people's desiring that. And when you're beginning to, well, whatever you bring to the table, I'm a scientist, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a seer, I'm somebody who had a NDE, you qualify yourself in some way that people are like, oh, this person, Anyway, meanwhile, if you analyze it, you go, yeah, that's just, you're grabbing one data point, or you're wanting something to be there, and I mean, anytime you mix science and religion, that's one right there. You just see right up at front, you know, going into a video like that there's going to be conflict. It's like, to me, a theist and atheist discussion is similar to a geologist and a flat earther having a discussion. Interesting, entertaining. People jump on one side or the other. But in the end, what good does it do? What does it change? The earth is round. It's a sphere like everything else in this cosmos is. It's not a pancake. It's not the only pancake in trillions and trillions and trillions of spheres. You know? That's just goofy. I don't know. It's kind of that way. Honestly, it just gets kind of ridiculous to have people trying to use science to shore supernatural. It just seems mentally so disingenuous, although I don't think that they're disingenuous. I think they're just mentally, I don't know what it is about people's capacity to distinguish and to process things through versus just, I like the sounds of that, I'm grabbing it, believing it, and you can't say no to it. Brains are so different, aren't they? All right, see you in the next video.